Hello, Tide fans, and welcome back to Tide Talk. We are coming off a bye week and just wanted to get together and talk a little bit about where we are, kind of some injury updates, things like that. Let me go. Right, we got some breaking news. Let me go ahead and introduce my crew. To my left is Maurice Booth.
Hi.
To my right is Jimmy Messick, and of course I'm your host, Sean Taylor.
Y'all told me it was Red Shirt Day.
We tried to see who was going to get it right, and obviously me and Jimmy are on the same page. Yeah. But no, we've talked a little bit about before the show, just about normally on a bye week, it's comes at a good time. Allow some guys to get healthy. We have several that need to get healthy, but we get news from the bye week that we have another starter that's injured. I think my first reaction was that's not surprising, just to be honest.
But it was on the other side of the ball.
Yeah,
true.
I mean, we've had so many defensive injuries, but let's talk a little bit about that and what that means with respect to the offensive line. I mean, the offensive.
Tell them who it is.
The offense. Yeah, I'm going to tell them. The offensive line has already been ridiculed a lot this year.
Absolutely.
And now we've got an injury to our center, Owens, the starting center, and so that means another shuffle. And they actually talked a little bit about that to some of the guys, and I honestly think the guys still feel pretty good about it. Jimmy, what are you hearing?
So let me first off say this: it's been a relatively quiet off week, which is always a good thing, minus this one tiny
hiccup.
Just when we thought we were getting that line kind of where it needed to be, I felt like they really played well this last week. Insert Brown, and it looks even better. And I really thought
a lot better, I think.
Yeah, I really thought he was going to be putting that starting lineup, honestly, this week, regardless. And now we got to go do the shuffling thing again. So I don't know, because we have done a lot of shuffling, I don't think it's going to hurt that bad.
Because we've been used to it.
Right.
We've been mixing guys up.
Yeah, so I don't like it, but it is what it is, I guess.
Maurice, the center being such a critical, role on the offensive line, the guy that calls the blocking schemes,
right.
The guy, how the anticipation is Landon Dickerson, the graduate transfer coming from Florida State. The anticipation is he's going to be the center.
Right.
How prepared do you think he is?
Well, I think he's going to be very well prepared, because if I'm not mistaken, it was New Mexico State that I think he got the start in that game because of injuries.
Correct.
So he's used to it. Maybe some concern about shotgun snaps and so forth. I think, and Saban has even talked about it, to the fact that he likes to do offensive line like you do in the NFL, where you don't have a second teamer at guard. You move over. You're basically putting your best players out.
Yeah.
And so if you have to shuffle to move over, then everybody's accustomed to it. That's why you always see in spring and in early summer camp that they keep moving. Well, today we saw this offensive line, and then the next day we saw this assortment of linemen that were the starters.
Right.
So I think now that we're well into the season, that they're all accustomed to it. It just takes, especially we get the week of practice to get used to it. It's not like during the game where, you should be somewhat used to it, but it's not as much of a shock. So I think it'll be all right. And like we were just saying before we came on, I think the addition of Brown being back, and I understand Saban just not putting him out there, but who was it that said
Jedrick Wills?
He hasn't missed
a heartbeat.
A heartbeat. So,
well, and that's it's interesting that you were saying that you thought Brown probably would be in the lineup anyway. Our run production against Ole Miss, the last game was much better than what we've seen in the past.
Yeah.
Not where I think we want to be yet, but it's a progression.
It is.
As we've said, and I think you put it best by an assortment of linemen, not necessarily a 1 or a 2 team, but an assortment, because you've got some guys that are able to play. And Jedrick Wills said it best. He's like, this guy's been out 6 games, and we're talking about Deontay Brown. He's been out 6 games, but he didn't skip a heartbeat.
Right.
So the fact that he's able to step in with the kind of experience that he's bringing, and then you just slide over who Saban says may be the toughest, smartest offensive lineman anyway in Landon Dickerson.
Right.
I feel kind of good about it.
Well, I would say this, though.
Well, say it.
I think I will. New Mexico State at home is going to be a little bit different than Kyle Field on the road. You know,
Without a doubt.
they're going to be loud, at least to start with. So I am going to be curious to see how we communicate, because that's
Right.
really the biggest thing. I mean, nobody can argue that we don't have some of the best talent on that offensive line.
Correct.
It's just that communication is where we've been broken down this year, even at home. So going on the road, you're not going to be able to hear. I'm curious how that's going to play out.
That's a good, very good point. You talk about, playing in front of 100,000 at home, being comfortable at home.
Right.
You're playing against New Mexico State. No offense, New Mexico State fans, but at the end of the day,
There may be one out there.
at the end of the day, it's still New Mexico State.
Right.
But now you're taking an assortment of linemen and you're going on the road, SEC, at people say maybe one of the loudest places to play.
Heard that.
The 12th man effect. And so it will be extremely interesting to see. I know this, make no mistake, they're preparing for the noise, they're preparing, for the reps. I agree. The shotgun snap is going to be a little different maybe for Dickerson, but he did get some experience with that, and you know that he's been repping that. I think at this point in the game, that should not be an issue.
Hopefully not.
it shouldn't be.
I don't think so. The only thing that I've been concerned about is sometimes, especially on the right side, the opposing team's defensive line's been getting some push. When I say push, we're playing 2 yards in the backfield.
Yeah.
So you combine that with the noise, which I've heard, well, it's definitely louder than Tennessee Stadium this year.
Bada boom.
Thank you. But yes, it is one of the loudest places. Well over 100,000 in that stadium facility. It's going to be interesting. Of course, they're always up for us. I mean, they were the ones, remember, that basically broke the streak in 13.
It's what we've said every week, though, for 9-10 years. We're getting everybody's best every week.
Absolutely.
When you're number one year after year, week after week, you're getting everyone's best anyway.
At least for a half.
And not to mention, they're coming off a bye also.
Yeah, yeah. And, Jimbo Fisher and Saban go way back from the home state, and that was his OC for a while. He probably knows Saban better than anybody as far as defenses.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this will be, gosh, it's so bad when we say that week after week. I think this will be the biggest test we faced to this point.
Yes.
But when you get down to it, 6 games in, I think this will be the best team that we've faced to this point. This will be the biggest test, all things considered, on the road, Kyle Field, new starting center. That's critical. I mean, it's.
Well, I told you to start the season, I thought A&M would be our toughest game. Now, obviously, 6 weeks in, they won't be, but I still think they're talented. Now, they have some injuries too. I was listening to the radio this morning, so they've lost some key players, so they're down as well. But
And to be honest, Kyler Mon hasn't played up to the expectations that a lot of us thought that he would be.
that's right.
And I don't know whether he's putting too much pressure on himself. No, watch this week he's going to come out and be
What I was just about to
all
say.
world.
Yeah, he'll have a
But he
Garcia
just
type game.
Yeah, exactly. He just hasn't lived up to those standards. Along with combine that with some injuries.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be a great segue into our next conversation because we talk about that every time. Why do we use Garcia? Is that because that's the first time it happened? That quarterback play that beats Alabama. So let's take a short break on behalf of Bob English and State Farm, and we'll come back and talk a little bit more about that, guys, about the quarterback play and Kellen Mond and what we have and have not seen from him. But hold your seats, Tide fans. We'll be right back with Tide Talk.
Oh, hey.
Is that Nick?
Yeah.
Enjoy the good times a little more with the right plan. As your State Farm agent, I am here to help you protect your dreams and loved ones with life insurance. With over 60 years combined State Farm experience, call me or any of my team to find out which options are best for you. Another way, we're here to help life go right.
All right, welcome back, Tide fans. We were talking right before we left that last segment just about, it seems like every time we talk about quarterback play, we always revert back to that 2010, if I'm not mistaken, game, 2011, where we go to South Carolina. We're ranked number 1 in the country, and Andy Garcia plays the best football game of his life. Where is Andy Garcia now?
He played for the Grateful Dead.
Does anybody know?
No, that's Jerry. He's dead. Why don't we always talk about Garcia when Manziel was?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Manziel, talk about
and Bryant Denny.
Deshaun Watson,
Yeah.
Kelly Bryant, for that matter. I mean,
Well, here's the thing, as a side note to all that. Garcia, everybody in the world said that if you go back to 2010, that was going to be a trap game because of who we were bookend with. Garcia played out of,
right.
Played good. But Manziel came into Bryant Denny Stadium and had a lot of hype, but we were like, all right, but he ran and threw all over us, and, they won. I'll give them that. If AJ would have thrown that deep ball, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So anyway, but Manziel, he came into Bryant Denny and was really the first to do it. I don't count Cam Newton,
Right.
but that's because I don't like him. But outside of that, everybody always goes back to Garcia, but there was, to me, Manziel was the one that really did it.
Well, we're talking about this because we're about to face Mon, and he hadn't had that moment yet this year that I know of.
That we know he's capable of.
I mean, he
Yeah,
had
he
that
did
moment.
last year.
I think his moment last year was against Clemson. The reason why they almost beat
Clemson and LSU late in the year.
Right, and so he hadn't had that moment this year. Again, I don't know why. I know they've had some injuries. I think maybe a couple of running backs are out.
Yeah.
Don't
Well,
know what
listen.
the offensive line is doing, but still, he's got that talent.
I mean, they're 3-2 with a loss to Clemson and a loss to Auburn.
Right.
So despite what some people say about Auburn after this weekend, they're still a good football team. They're a good defensive football team, and so Texas A&M losses are to two, formidable opponents. So they're going to be at home, as you mentioned, Maurice. Jimbo Fisher's going to be prepared. Right. You can bank on the fact that he knows a little bit about Saban and what's going on, and so it's going to be really interesting for me to watch how our defense, measures up to the potential of Kellen Mond. The potential is what we talk about a lot, and if you're always talking about potential, then that's not a good thing. But
y'all were asking, I looked it up. They are ranked 58th in total offense. I mean, that's not really setting the force on fire, especially for offensive-minded Jimbo Fisher that comes over. So, there's something going on, whether it be injuries or just poor performance, from the quarterback. But they're definitely not clicking on the cylinders that everybody anticipated.
Right. Yeah, and so the challenge, and I think, Nick Saban has, of course, he always says, it's going to present a new challenge, and, young guys on defense, we've talked about how we've kind of dummied down our defense a little bit because we have so many young guys. Right. And, I think that may be a good thing. I've said in the past, we've got these guys that are so talented, but they're thinking so much. Let's talk about Reuben Foster, as a matter of fact. I mean, he didn't really get on the field until his junior year.
That's correct.
In a defensive position, he played special teams, but it wasn't certainly because he wasn't talented enough. It was because he couldn't pick up the defense. So this may be a good thing for a young group that, and that's the reason Saban makes the money that he makes, is because he has to make those types of decisions to do things like that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Again, really, honestly, I don't really know what to expect. Honestly, we say we're dumbing it down because we've had a bye week. Now we've got this quarterback that's potentially, got all the talent in the world, and I mean, honestly, I don't really know what to think about that matchup. But
the only thing I'm really concerned about defensively, and we've talked about it, is our DBs are solid. I just want the defensive front to, be able to manhandle what's in front of them. Marcus Spears, I was watching the other night, who former defensive lineman that is honest as can be. He says, I see, this was 2 weeks ago, I see Auburn and Georgia defensive lines doing it the way it's supposed to be done. I see Alabama and LSU trying to do that, but they're not there yet. So that will in turn help out the freshmen. The most complicated thing on our defense, I believe, is the different zone coverages that we
Right.
And
Right.
I think we're solid there. So if we can just get the line to come along, which I think that's probably was a focus along with blocking this week. And
so I'll be curious too. Is this the week that we show a little bit of something? Again, we always talk about vanilla, whether it's dumbing it down, making it vanilla, not really showing a whole lot. I mean, is this the week that we maybe
Let me take that a step
show
further.
a little bit?
Let me take that a step further and say, is this the week that our defense has gotten healthy? Terrell Lewis, DJ Dale, a little banged up.
right.
Is this the week that we're healthy enough to do those things? Terrell Lewis played a little bit. He was limited in the Ole Miss game.
Right.
But when he's in there,
It's a difference.
it's a significant difference. He is a force to be reckoned with off the edge.
And you would know, as being a former offense coordinator, when somebody like that's in the game, all right, I got to change up here.
That's exactly right. I've got to make plans for number 24.
Exactly.
Fortunately, Anthony Jennings is playing extremely well, so you got to make plans for that. Now you get DJ Dale, who's had an extra week to get some therapy and get some rest, so I'm taking that a step further to say now I'm interested to see if we're healthy enough to pull out some of those.
Still missing LeBron Ray, who's going to be out for another, 3 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, and I didn't mention LeBron Ray because he is going to be out for a few more weeks. Of course, we could go on and talk. Dylan Moses, who's a critical part. But so the guys that we will have, hopefully, they are almost 100%, if not 100%, and that presents, the defensive coordinator with some opportunities to do some things that maybe we haven't done to this point.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
But the thing is, and I'm not getting ahead of ourselves, but does the coaching staff, I want to say that, it's going to be Saban's decision. If you get out 14-0, quick strikes, and then you get another one, 21, do I really have to start showing anything?
True. There you go.
If I'm running base and I'm getting...
We haven't even gotten to that conversation, which is, the offense has been clicking on all cylinders, really.
This is no joke. The last game, the first series, it was like the fourth play, and I said, this should be a touchdown. Devontae Smith, touchdown. That's how quick we're scoring. And I really don't, I buy into we need to slow down the scoring so our defense can rest. Defense can rest if they make the other team go 3 and out.
Right.
So,
and that's been a topic of conversation within the program. I mean, Nick Saban has talked about being able to get off the field. He did, in fact, say basically what you just said. I don't know that you want to consider not scoring.
right. To me, the best play in the game is when you're always kicking off.
Yeah, I mean, so that's.
But that is a good point, though. Like you said, if we get up big, which potentially could happen, again, are we still just going to dial it back and say, we don't need to use it this week either?
No reason to.
I don't have to. And it gives my freshmen a little bit more time to understand it and practice as far as if there is going to. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't seen any blitz packages.
We talked about that the last show. We hadn't really seen a whole lot.
Safety blitz. And
That's going
Very,
to.
very few blitzes at all in the 5 games.
yeah.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back and talk a little bit about that. We'll talk a little bit about the offense. We'll talk about the expectation for the game. And
That's
you
a
know,
lot to talk about.
yeah, that is a lot to talk about in just a few minutes. So we'll be right back on behalf of Bob English and State Farm. Hold your seats, Tide fans. We'll be right back right here with Tide Talk.
In life, some things just go together, like a burger and fries, and home and auto insurance from State Farm. So make it a combo. Combining your home and auto insurance could save you time and money. And who doesn't like that? Just call me, Bob English, or any of my experienced hometown team and find out how you could start saving today. It's just another way.
All right, welcome back, Tide fans.
Oh, yeah,
Go ahead. You want it? I mean,
You're good at
look,
it.
I appreciate that. I appreciate
You've
that.
got a better shirt.
So we were talking right before the break just about, again, that defense, how we're anxious to see if we're going to show anything, if we're going to, disguise any more differently and that sort of thing. We all kind of have a general feeling about that and what we think. But we were talking about some really good points, and we need to touch on those with respect to the offense. If we're scoring so quickly, do we need to? Nick Saban's talked a lot, and we were talking right before the break about, we say that all the time, about having balance. And I know it's important for him. I think it's important as a whole, just so that we can, what he's always wanted to do, control the clock. He likes control, and if we can run the football, we can control the clock a lot better. He knows we can score quickly. Now, I'm not agreeing necessarily with you that we can turn it on when we want to, Jimmy. Maybe we can, and you know what? That's great. But he knows we can score quickly. He wants to eat that clock up. He wants to be able to run the football, wear on the defense. You think back when Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, Trent Richardson, he wants to impose our will on defenses, and
So
the only way to do
here's
that.
what we have to do to get balanced. On that 2nd and 3, when we run that RPO slant, we got to quit running it.
We got to quit throwing it, and we got to run it.
Yeah, we got to quit throwing that slant for 80-yard touchdowns on the 3rd play of the series. That's the only way to get balance.
Well, really, I think the only time that and I agree with you. I mean, I grew up in the 70s where, if you wanted to see anybody throw, you went to pregame. But if you're going to, in this day and age, as far as our team goes that we're talking about, want to run the ball, the only time that you really need it is in crucial situations and short yardage.
That's right.
Now, I go back to the LSU game in 16 or 17 where
T.J. Yeldon, you talking about?
we ran out the clock in Tuscaloosa with like 8 minutes to go. Took over on the 20.
Oh, yes.
And just ran out the. I don't think I've ever seen that, and it was something that nobody really talked about. But we took the ball and just ran it, and ran out the clock.
Yeah.
And they had timeouts, and they couldn't do anything about it because it controlled.
And that's exactly right, Maurice. That's exactly what I believe Nick Saban wants to be able to do, because again, he knows we can throw the football. He knows we can score quickly. There's no denying that with the receiving core that we have. He wants to be able to, when it's necessary, to run the football and know that we can get 3 and 4 yards at a click, move the chains, force teams to use timeouts, force them to, put more in the box just to make the throw a little easier.
But that's what we're saying. But I haven't seen that
Right.
type of offense.
I mean, have we even ran the ball back-to-back plays this year? I mean, maybe we have.
Only in the latter part of the game when we're just.
I'm talking about mop-up. I'm talking about in the
Right.
first half. Have we ran back-to-back running plays? I mean, there's sometimes I'm screaming at the TV, no, run the ball. Run the ball. I just want to run it 3 times in a row, see if we can get a first down. Just one time. If
Yeah.
we don't, kick, punt it, and then the next time we'll run our RPOs and
Well,
slants and-
Sheriff Taylor will be questioning you about the punting part of it, but
Oh yeah,
but that's
ready to go for it. Run it 4 times in a row.
that's another episode.
There you go. Run it 4 times in a row then. See if we can get a first down, obviously depending on field position. But honestly, you're right. I'd love to see us just run it a little more myself.
But it's kind of disappointing to the fact that, I don't mean to get on the kid, but #1 recruit a couple of years ago, Najee Harris, and we're going, we can't really run the ball that good, that well.
Right.
Right.
So,
Man, that's
We did look better against Ole Miss. Robinson had a great day, and even Najee looked better against Ole Miss.
But from an former offensive coordinator's perspective, and not at that level by any means, but it's not always about the running back. And we all have talked about that. There are several times that we've talked about it, we've texted each other, where you mentioned it on this show, we're getting knocked back 2 yards into the backfield, so that running play can't even take off because we're already having to make a move at the line as opposed to hitting a hole and using that 6'3", 235-pound frame.
Well, also, you got to remember too that we talked about this, I think, early in the year. This zone blocking scheme is not really designed to go right off the left tackle every time.
Yeah.
That zone is for that running back to say, okay, I need to go right or I need to go left. And so again, some of that, we got to think about that too.
Now before,
And we don't have that guy that just get there quick.
I'm not
in my
one to
opinion.
build something up to make excuses, but Ole Miss's defense is ranked higher than I expected. I mean, I think it was top 30 in the country.
Yeah.
And then Duke, which just lost their second game, they were 3-1 going into the Pitt game, and they had been hanging up some points. So I think a lot of people were ready to discredit Duke, and Cutcliffe is one heck of a coach in my opinion. And they're being pretty competitive. So maybe we are or have been too critical. I don't know. I know I can't be too critical when you guard and tackle at 2 yards in the backfield, and it's not a pass. So it's going to be downfield blocking. But maybe I shouldn't say we. Maybe I'm being too critical as far as expectations, but I'm just basing it on years
past.
Yeah.
So I disagree. I don't think you're too critical about the expectation, because the expectation we have has been set from previous years.
Right.
So my expectation is on that 3rd and 2, we're throwing the ball a lot. As in the past, we've run the football.
Agreed. Who on offense are your best athletes?
Yeah.
On this team?
The receivers.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Get it in their hands.
It's the Alabama football concept, though. It's what Nick Saban says. We want to get back to Alabama football. We want to get back to hitting you in the mouth and imposing our will. Listen, do you not remember the days when Derek, as I mentioned before, Derrick Henry, Trent Richardson, T.J. Yeldon, Eddie Lacy. Hey, we were going to run the football. You knew it. They had 7 or 8 in the box, and it did not matter. I remember me and you watching the SEC championship game against Georgia, and the first part of the game, the second half of the game, we're running the football, and they've got 7 and 8 guys in the box, and we're running a double tight end set, and we're picking up 4 and 5 and 6 yards. That's what Nick Saban wants to be able to do, because it is that confidence. It is that we're tougher than you.
I agree, but I love that type of offense, and I remember exactly which game you're talking about. I just don't see that capability in this team.
I honestly, I don't know if we're not going to see that on this team. I'm just going to be honest with you. I mean, we may not see it in years to come just because of how everything's evolved from an offensive
And then the other thing that bothers me, if we're talking about numbers, which everything comes down to, and I go back to Steve Spurrier's offense, if we're throwing at will, or whoever the guy's name is, it's DB, Jim, Will.
Maurice.
No, Maurice is on the sideline. But shouldn't that open up the running game, like with Eric Rhett? I mean, that's what Spurrier did. He would throw it. All right, Eric, take over.
Yeah.
And how come we can't?
Yeah.
I mean, they should be backed off playing so much coverage that the lane should be open.
But here's the difference, I think, and we'll have to be quick about this because our time's, but it's because of the style. We're running RPOs. So, it's not just a drop back, play action all the time. Yes, we do run some play action, but a lot of our success is off the RPOs. You know, the read and the slant for a touchdown. So that has something to do with it because they're playing the run.
Yeah.
They're-
But I haven't seen, well, now that you say that, I can't recall us running a draw.
Yeah. We hadn't ran screens, draws.
Yeah.
You know, we're not running any counters. So is that coming? Maybe. Have we had to do that? No. We're having such great success throwing the football. So all of that is remains to be seen. I think it's coming. I'll be honest. I think that we will get to a point where listen, Najee Harris is a good running back. He wasn't a 5-star for nothing. Right. Brian Robinson Jr. is a really good running back. And unfortunately, we lost the freshman kid, Trey Sanders, right? We lost him. I think that guy competes for maybe some number 2 roles if he don't get injured. So it's there.
So what are we going to do this week?
It's coming.
What are we going to do? What should we expect this weekend real quick?
97-3. No, I think I'm not that big of a buyer in A&M. I think they've had a dismal season. I think it's, I'll say a cakewalk, but, 37-17, something like that.
So I think we cover and score probably 40 something on them.
Bears.
I think 45-17.
Yeah.
45. I think we score 40 plus. Well, it'll be another conversation next week, right here on Channel 7 and 207 after we take care of Texas A&M, and hopefully you guys will be able to come back and we'll talk about that as we get ready for our next football game. So, guys, thank you for joining me. And hey, fans, want to make sure we bring this back up. The number right here on the screen. Call us. Give us right here. Call us, give us your thoughts, ask some questions that you'd like for us to maybe talk about on the next show. Is that one right now? Yeah. And we'd love to hear from you, or if you just got a comment about the show, just make sure you call this number right here on the screen, and we'd love to hear from you. And other than that, guys, we'll see you next week. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. It's for you.
All right, thank you. No, Coach Saban, I can't do that.
He's so.
Thank you.
He's so needy.
He must have.